Yeah. And like when you're a teenager, like everyone's like literally 50 years old and you're like, this is fucking
They're like, I have such a hard time when I
embarrassing.
pack my kids' lunch. I want to eat their snacks. And I'm like, I can't relate to that at all. Welcome back to another episode of My Body, My Jokes. I am your host, Morgan Lorraine Gallo, coming to you from Dude IDK Studios in Denver. And I'm really excited because I just launched a new website. It's morganlorrainegallo.com. We have retired the Morgan Gallo comedy moniker because I am more than a comedian. That's right. And if you want to support the pod, please give us a 5-star review on Google or, I don't know, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever. It just helps the podcast get seen and hopefully help the people that need to hear it. And today I have a guest that I have known I think like half of my life, honestly.
Yeah, that's wild.
We grew up in the same city. We went to some of the same schools, and I'm really excited to have her. So please welcome mindfulness coach, Madi Mayfield.
Hello there.
Hello.
Love you. Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I'm feeling grateful to be a part of this movement that Morgan is creating and just speaking vulnerably with women.
Part of it before I was, really.
Yeah, I remember you coming to me and being like, I think I'm going to start a podcast and I don't know what I'm going to do, but what do you think? And I want to talk about our bodies. And I mean, I just think it's really cool to be here today after.
Thanks.
That was like a while ago.
You were a huge inspiration. You were some inspo
God,
for sure.
Because
you talk a lot about like mindfulness and like the changing of your body through the seasons and stuff on your Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people who don't know you, give us a little synopsis of who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So I started mindfulness coaching 3 years ago, and I've been doing it's a combination of body love, self-love, inner confidence, and working through trauma and just kind of unpacking all these things, all these beliefs about ourselves, all these habits that really don't belong to us, and they belong to our parents, our grandparents. They belong to the society around us, our peers around us. And just getting rid of that and really finding out like what's underneath and who you are and learning how to love that person kind of through the lens of yourself and not other people and those around you.
Yeah. How did you get to the place of becoming a mindfulness coach?
That started during COVID. I was working 3 jobs. I was going to school down in Denver. I was living down here, and I was working at the school and then a couple bar jobs, and I was really unhappy. I was drinking a lot. I was smoking a lot of weed. I was vaping, which is like so out of my
That's
character.
How you know it's bad.
Yeah.
When you're vaping, it's bad.
You got the like triple whammy coping mechanisms.
Oof.
And eating, binge eating, emotional eating, that was a big thing for me during that time. And COVID hit, and it was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, I'm unhappy in my body. I feel misaligned with kind of my purpose in life. I was finishing school and I just didn't know what I like wanted to do even. So that started a journey of like self-exploration. I actually hired someone that we went to school with to help coach me through some like inner child healing stuff, because I had a lot of stuff from my dad and my parents divorce. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up going that direction. Was just my own journey led me there, and I was like, fuck, everyone needs to be a part of what this feels like to like learn about yourself as an adult.
Yeah, and now you host workshops.
Yes.
They're called, what are they called? They're like Mindful Maddie workshops.
Yeah,
They're
we
so
call it
cute.
Mindful Maddie workshops.
Yeah, and what do you do at those?
We do some version of art and creative expression, and then paired with just like kind of an intentional like discussion.
Cool.
It's mostly women. That's kind of just who I tend to attract anyways.
Must be nice.
Yes. What are you at now? You're like 90%,
90.1% men, 9.8% women. We're inching.
Close.
We are inching.
Get her to that 10, guys. If you follow me and you're here for me, Give Morgan a follow.
Oh my God. I went to one of your workshops. It was like a few months ago now. And we made friendship bracelets and clay magnets, or like foam clay magnets. And it was so fun to like be around women that I would otherwise never meet or like really even associate with, because there were some moms there, there were some teachers there, like people I wouldn't run into in real life. And your mom was there.
My mom was there. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, and it was so fun to just kind of like be in that space and feel like, okay, we're all here. We all set an intention to come here. We're not being like forced to socialize.
Yeah.
And it was nice to like know that because we all had a connection to you, it was a safe space. It was really fun.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
I think that's what I'm trying to do, is just like foster this sense of like community and womanhood and vulnerability. Like come and like, I had a friend who said she wasn't able to make it like the last week, the last one I did. And she was like, I'm tired, I'm drained. And I was like, you're going to come to this and it's going to revitalize you. It's going to energize you. It's not going to drain you. It's going to just have you like sit for a little bit, get intentional, and then you get to like move that energy around through art and through bracelets or magnets, or vision boards is another one that we do. That was the one I did most recently. So
and did she come?
She did not come.
Oh, I thought this was going into like a grandiose story.
No, it wasn't. But the point was that I do want it to be a space that you come like, yeah, I'm not feeling great. Let's like, I'm excited for this workshop. It's gonna reset me. It's gonna recenter me.
Yeah.
So.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I always ask everyone on the podcast this, and as someone that like, I guess that we should say Maddie and I grew up together in Boulder, Colorado, and we were like acquaintances.
Yeah, we were.
And
we were adjacent.
Yeah, we were very like parallel to each other. And then it wasn't until I moved back to Denver and I was like looking at your content and saw that you were kind of on this journey that I wanted to embark on, that I was like, oh, I want to be friends with Maddie. You know what I mean? So I wanted to have you on this podcast, and I ask everyone on this podcast, what is your relationship with your body?
Yeah. Today, at this moment, it's wonderful, but it's fluid, and I think I'm along for that ride. I'm like allowed to hate my body one day and not like what I see in the mirror, and then move through my day without letting that hold me back, you know?
That's
and
very
then,
realistic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
There's others days too where I'm like, I'm literally the hottest bitch you've ever seen.
Yep.
So it just depends. And we're just human. So I think I just allow myself to ride that roller coaster, which it's not that journey for me. I mean, it's taken me a while to get there, to just be neutral about my body.
Yeah. What have been the steps? Like, what has that journey been like to get here?
It started with the inner child healing and the unpacking of some of the stuff, the trauma with my parents and their divorce, and my dad, and the way like my peers treated me. And then it turned into like, okay, well then how are you going to live in this body and accept yourself? Which just like, I feel like I'm still on that journey. I feel like it's not like complete, right? But I feel like I've just arrived at a point, I've put in action. I've put in intentional movement and intuitive eating and things that, you know, are just kind to your body. Like, I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No. Yeah, that's awesome. I think everyone's like journey is different. You know, for some people, getting to that place of body neutrality is like a feat of finding one specific thing that they can work on that like opens up their world, whether it's like a specific type of movement or a specific type of mindfulness practice. And I'm always really interested to see like how people get there, because I think in my experience, I've really never been able to be body neutral. And I even think now, almost a year into recovery, I'm still kind of at this place where I've never really found that neutrality. I genuinely am like, I'm the hottest woman alive, or I am a gremlin that deserves to go back under the bridge she came from. Like there's no in between.
Damn.
And it's such a slingshot, and it's hard to settle in that middle.
Right.
Because I think there's a part of me, and part of like a lot of people that want to stay in that positive, and we want to stay in that like uber confident place. But like you said earlier, like it is kind of unrealistic, especially as women. Like we have a 28-day cycle. We're going to feel different literally every week. Our body is going through changes. Like even as you get older as a woman, your hormones change, your body changes, whether you get pregnant or not. Like it's like a never ending kind of thing.
That part's huge. The hormone part and understanding our cycles. When I was coaching women one-on-one and doing group coaching, we were talking about cycle syncing and about the changes that our bodies experience as women. And men are on a 24-hour cycle, and we're on a 28-day hormone cycle.
Nuts?
Yeah, like we need different things. And when I started to understand that, a little more grace happened for myself. A little more like understanding and like, okay, like it's not my week. I'm about to get my period. Like that's just, it's going to be how it is. I think there can be more self-acceptance when you're like, I'm a woman, God damn it. Like, this is what I do. This is what my body does. It's incredible what we do.
Yeah,
right?
It is something to like feel like honored to be able to go through, even though it's like, it sucks. Like it's an honor to be a woman. My therapist will always ask me, it kind of sucks, but honestly, like honored. What an honor. My therapist always asks me like, if I say something particularly like passionately, or if I am particularly upset about something that seems maybe trivial, she'll go, "Where's your cycle at?"
Whoa.
And it pissed me off at first.
You're like, why are you coming for me?
Yeah,
right
because
now?
I was like, okay, I feel like what
someone's on their rag.
I honestly feel like at first I was like, wow, okay, so what she's telling me is I'm only feeling this way because I'm about to be on my period, and it's not a valid feeling because I'm about to be on my period.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like took a step back. And I was like, okay, but she's been a therapist for like 40 plus years. She's, worked with people with eating disorders specifically.
Wow.
There's a reason behind why she's saying that.
Yeah.
And it's not because she's saying, hey, you're feeling really upset because you're on your period.
Yeah.
She's saying, you have to understand that your body will go through changes through that 28-day cycle.
Right.
And it's okay to have these emotions. And sometimes it helps to be like, yeah, I'm a little, cranky today. I'm like really crampy. I'm really bloated. I don't feel good. And I just have to like move through the world knowing that that's where I'm at today. And it's okay.
Right.
But it took me a little bit to get there.
Right.
Because I was like, what do you mean? I'm on my cycle.
Yeah.
Like, you're a woman, you should get it. But it was me misinterpreting.
Yeah,
it.
it's just a moment. She's inviting you to check in with yourself and ask yourself where you at and look at it objectively instead of with this lens of like criticism for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't deserve that.
Yeah.
You're a queen. You're a goddamn queen.
And the part that sucks is when she's like, are you on your cycle? And I'm like, no, it was 2 weeks ago. I'm just angry. I'm just really mad.
I will say though, 2 weeks later after your period, you're back into your luteal phase. So your PMS symptoms are gonna...
Can I be honest with you?
Those are gonna happen again.
I don't know the phases.
Okay. Should we talk about them?
I genuinely don't know the phases.
That's
just
totally
give me a quick
fine.
run. Is it 4 or there's 3?
It's so normal. There's 4.
There's 4.
There's
okay.
3 and there's 4 within one of those. So...
Oh, God.
Right.
So I'm already exhausted.
We start at menstruation.
Right.
That's the first 1
Got
to
that
7
one
days.
down pat.
Yep.
Really good at that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Then your follicular phase starts. That's your inner spring.
Inner spring. Follicular, like growing hair. You're springing
you're
eggs everywhere.
The eggs be springing.
The eggs be springing.
And that's like the second week.
So that's like the week
and
after
a half.
your
It's like
period?
10 days. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
And then you move into ovulation, which is a part of your follicular phase.
Okay.
So it's within that because the ovulation is happening. The eggs are coming down.
Yeah. Going
They're
down
ready.
the slide.
Yes. Yeah. And that lasts for 3 to 5 day window, but it's like a 24-hour thing. That's when you're like tip top shape. That's probably when you're feeling your most confident.
Oh, when you're ovulating?
Yes.
Oh, because nature's like, go have sex.
Right.
Okay,
and it's
cool.
like your skin is glowing, your body's ready, it's prepared for life.
How many eggs do you release in ovulation?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I always thought it was like 1, but I feel like it's more, right?
Yeah, but
like
all you have is all you have.
Right.
You don't grow more eggs.
Right. You're born with the amount of it. Okay, cool.
So It's gotta, I don't know, there's two of those things. So maybe there's one and then there's two.
Yeah, they switch off.
What I mean?
They're like, hey, it's your turn to release the bitch.
Yeah.
Go down there.
And I'm not saying that this is fully educational and correct
No, it
information.
is. Mindfulness, Maddie. She's the one telling you everything. Okay, so after ovulation, where do we go from there?
Then you go into your luteal phase, which is the last 2 weeks, and your period happens kind of at the end of that. So your PMS symptoms will start traditionally at that time.
Yeah.
The last half of the month.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and yes, it's a cycle. Like you're always going, like I have PMDD. Sorry, let me put this down. I have PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Wow.
And so I experience PMS on like an extreme level. 1 in 4 women suffer with PMDD and have no idea.
Yeah.
We're misdiagnosed all the time and just told you're on your period. You're going to be a little crazy.
Or hey, lose weight.
Oh, yeah.
That's all. They're like, hey.
You know what? You should start with losing weight.
Start with that.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a pregnancy test.
That will fix it.
And then we'll see what else is going on. That is always the thing is like you go in there, they're like, what's going on? You're like, I have a head. We talked about this in episode 2. Jocelyn made a really funny joke.
I remember that.
Yeah. It's like you go in there with a gunshot wound and they're like, have you tried Weight Watchers?
Right. Like, oh my God, thank you
for
my
that
God.
Advice. Do you take birth control or anything? Would that stuff help with PMDD?
It makes it worse.
Really?
And actually that's what I believe is the cause of my PMDD is the 10 years from when I was 15 to 25 of hormonal imbalance due to hormonal birth control.
Fuck, dude.
So and IUDs and
IUDs.
pill and,
yeah.
So that actually happened when I started like coaching. I got my IUD removed and at the time I was dating someone. I broke up with them immediately. I was like, I don't even know you. Like as my body started to like settle back into the normal way it should be, I was realizing like I'm living completely out of alignment with who I am.
What a realization.
Yeah. And that really took off. Like that was like mid-COVID and then here we are today.
Shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, congrats.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's like you got like a brain chip removed and you rebooted
Seriously.
a little bit. That's
Seriously.
great.
I'm actually due for another one of those. So if anyone wants to just let me know how we can get going on a good old reboot, that'd be lovely.
A good old reboot. So we grew up in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
Which is a very... I always struggle to describe it because I never want to offend people. It's a very white, affluent, thin, crunchy place. And what I mean by that is the culture is very active. It's very like everyone is constantly doing sports, doing an activity, and they tend to be like the expensive sports. It tends to be things that you need equipment for. Like it's just kind of a really like... I don't know, granola place.
I feel like people will know what you mean when you say granola. I feel like that trope definitely follows through in Boulder.
Like who you think, if you've never been to Colorado and you have an idea of who you think lives in Colorado, they probably look like the people that live in Boulder. In like the nice, like respectfully, you know what I mean? But I know my experience growing up there, but what was your experience in terms of like body image and diet culture growing up in Boulder?
Sports is the first thing I clocked that you said. Expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
$2,500 for a season. And then within that, I played soccer like my whole life and my dad was my coach at times. And then my other coaches that I had were really hard on me about my weight. So that I feel like is kind of my first memories of like recognizing that my body was different than other girls around me and that older male adults were recognizing that my body was different than others. And that like shame, goddamn, that shame was deep already when I was like 13 and I got slow. And I started playing goalie instead. And I thought playing goalie was like the fat kid's job. And really it was just a job for a boss bitch. And I was.
That was a thing?
Yes.
Because I remember being in like the youth soccer or whatever, and it was like when goalie tryouts came to be, they always asked the biggest girls on the team to be the goalies. And even if we were good runners, even if we were good kicker, whatever it was, they were like, oh, do you want to try out to be goalie?
Right.
That was always
100%.
a thing. Yeah.
The reason I became a goalie was because our goalie was out of town one weekend, and I was slowing down because I was going through puberty. It was like we were 13 at the time, and they asked me to play goalie because I was kind of benched at that point.
Did you like it though?
I loved it, but it was so much anxiety and so much more stress than other positions.
Yeah, because
on
you're
the
the
field.
last line of defense. Like if someone gets a goal past you, like they're like, you fucked up, Maddie.
Right.
Yeah.
And my father was very critical of me, and that really impacted the way I saw myself and also the way I treated my body. My dad was always on some extreme crazy diet, getting up at 5 a.m., working out for 2 hours, and then making us smoothies and making us drink smoothies when we were 8.
Fun.
Which I love smoothies, but like that was all we were
when you're
allowed
8,
to have.
it's like, like you need sustenance.
Right. To then the other side of that, which was like drinking, eating in excess. Like my parents definitely had like disordered eating when I was growing up, and I definitely took that on. We were also a clean plate family. We were you sit until you finish your food.
Yeah.
You be grateful for the plate in front of you, because we didn't have that growing up kind of.
Did you notice did you have any inclination when you were young that there was some kind of disordered eating or like some kind of issue?
No, not at all.
Oh,
not
okay,
at all.
yeah.
Not
I mean,
at all.
yeah, I thought that too.
Until I got to high school, when I was then like more with my peers, more with my friends, and watching them and their interactions with food, did I start to recognize like, okay, I'm different. And like, that's when maybe like some secretive eating started happening for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like a weird thing. Like you had eating disorders and you and your friends were just like cool about it. Like in high school, we were just cool about our eating disorders. And like no one talked about it. And like maybe someone had to go to treatment, secretly once or twice. But like no one ever, we just pretended it was completely normal because our parents did. I think that is where the Boulder culture comes back.
Yeah. It's a very, God, I wish there was like, sometimes I stumble upon, I get stumped on how to describe it because like, like I was a part of the Meadows tennis club. My mom like played tennis. Yeah. And like every time I went there, it was like, all of these like really thin white women who were relatively well off, you know what I mean? Right. And were eating like a bowl of cherries for lunch and drinking a margarita, and the culture was very like health conscious. Like if you were eating processed food, it better be processed food from Whole Foods or from a health store or and there was like really no room to celebrate body diversity. I actually got a message from someone that we went to middle school with recently, and when I had posted a clip about my story about how when I was in 8th grade, I lost all this weight and I went back and like all of a sudden everyone wanted to be my friend and boys liked me, whatever. She messaged me and she's like, thank you for sharing this. It's so crazy because when that happened, she was like, you and I were kind of one of the few like big girls in our grade. And when you came back that summer and was thin all of a sudden, I felt really isolated. And it made me feel like, well, shit, Morgan's thin now. Like, what am I going to do? And I never thought that would affect anyone. And looking back, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like there were moments when I felt that in high school when I was the big girl and then I saw someone lose weight or it was clear that someone else was on a diet. And it made me think like, well, what am I doing wrong? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And then it's like, there just must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the eating disorder thing is really interesting because like, it's almost like back then we didn't know that the term eating disorder was like, everyone thought that word was for like, oh no, you have to be like really sick. You have to be like really thin, really messed up. Yeah. To have an eating disorder. When in reality, it was like, no, we were like skipping meals and like being proud of it. Or, I remember there was a time when homecoming was coming up and this girl that I knew was like only drinking water, like and stuff to lose weight for homecoming.
On a juice cleanse.
Yes, on a juice cleanse for 7 days at 15 years old. Like,
wow.
And that was like normalized. That was like, yeah, good for you. Like, you're gonna be so skinny. And I didn't even think that there was anything wrong with that.
No, right. Yeah, like, fuck, that's, I mean,
There's so many examples that we could bring up.
But and I will say, this is just like my biggest thing with the trauma work that I do, the recovery work that I do with people who have similar body stories as I do. Like, it does not come from you. It does not start with you. It starts with the environment you're in, the family that's around you, your peers around you, the culture around you, like all these factors. They're just putting thoughts and beliefs into your head that are not yours about your body and about what's normal for food. And like, I was just talking to my mom about this. Like, she didn't know. She just said she was following in the footsteps of her mom, like showing me what her mom showed her.
Exactly.
I feel like we're the generation that's like, hey guys.
Hey, actually, this is like really messed up.
Fuck?
Yeah. And there's so much more information now. There's so many more like studies and so much more research coming out that talks about like genetics and how anti-fatness is a lot more about like society and not like the so-called obesity epidemic, and the way that the BMI was literally developed by a dude who wasn't even a doctor, and he was basing it off of Western white men's bodies. Like there's so much evidence now that supports the fact that all of this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, because I think it's really hard when we're made to believe that like we are the culprits of our own suffering, because at some point it's like, yeah, sometimes you have to like wake up and be like, no, I'm going to work on myself and be positive and like get to that place of being more mindful.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, especially for a lot of women, it is the messages that were told to us growing up, whether it was our mom, our friends, bullies, magazines. I mean, I remember like, did you ever read J14 magazine? Like that was like our social media.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have TikTok and shit. So we looked to like J14, or maybe if you were spicy, Cosmo or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
what was like the Cosmo, not Cosmo Junior, but what's like that magazine?
Cosmo Girl? Or no, I don't know.
What is it?
Did they have a teen one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
You were close there.
Cosmo Girl, yeah, something like that. And then
One
there was like Teen Vogue. There was like all the teen versions of the adult magazine. And there were always in the back few pages, diet advice, exercise advice, and things about like fitting into your prom dress, coming back from summer and looking tan and beautiful and whatever. And I soaked it up like a sponge. And it's like, I can't imagine what it would have been like to be that age, looking at magazines where there might have been like curve models.
Wow.
Or people who are talking about, you know, weight stigma and like being yourself. Because now we have those people, but we also have such expanded social media that I personally almost feel like diet culture has gotten like worse for young women. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think they're exposed to so much more. They have access to so much more toxic shit than we did. Yeah, it's insane. You know, like that would have been dangerous for girlies like us who had eating disorders.
I can't even go on TikTok for extended periods of time now at 28, almost 29 years old. Can you imagine being 13 on TikTok where there are girls that are like, I'm a size 2 and like this is what I eat in a day. Or there's advice on someone looked up on TikTok to show how diet culture is like so permeated there. They looked up on TikTok 1,400 calorie diet, and TikTok with that AI built into it came back with a diet like written in the search results for them to look up. And then all these videos of girls that were promoting like 1,200, 1,400 calorie diets.
Bro.
And it's like they act like they have all these safeguards in place to like prevent eating disorders, and here's the NIDA hotline and here's this, but it's like you're not even.
It's just as easy to access the horrible shit that it is to the resources that kids would need.
Yeah. And this is actually a perfect segue, because I always like to talk about people's online experience because mine has been such a fucking roller coaster.
Yeah.
has your online experience shifted as you've kind of stepped into this mindfulness space? And what was it like when you were growing up and it was like not really a thing yet?
It wasn't a thing. Like, we were just talking about Vine the other day, and like
oh my
that
God.
was how we consumed media.
Yes.
Or like I would make Vines, like just dumb little, Vine was like 6-second videos. So that's all we had. And Snapchat was coming out when we were in school.
Snapchat.
Which
Snapchat
created
filters.
some like kind of crazy stuff, whatever, puberty stuff. But I think for me, Instagram specifically, when I came back into the space and like decided to start posting on social media for real and not just Facetuned pictures from college. Like, I think, sorry, I'm not going back far enough, but I don't really need to. I didn't really post on social media very much. The classic like prom pictures, edited everything, filters on filters. And then in college, same thing. So much Facetune. Making myself look skinnier.
Oh my God.
I would get messages from girls being like, you look so good. And I'm like, that's not real. But thank you. That feels good. The fake thank you, the fake like you look so good also does something for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But when I started coaching, I had to like really find self-acceptance and say like, I'm here to be the face of what it is to love yourself. And that was like, I really had to face my demons there. And posting became like a little challenge I was doing for myself and healing a lot of my own shit, while also just like being there for other people and people would read. I mean, I kind of started it as like a Tumblr on my Instagram in like 2021.
Yes. I love
I kind
Tumblr.
of just went full diary mode.
Cool.
And that really brought the people I feel like that are still my followers that we knew and like grew up with. And
vulnerability will attract the people that need it the most.
So being vulnerable on the internet, honestly, I haven't gotten a lot of hate for it. I've gotten some like, you're fats on my reels.
Which is like such a like go take a creative writing class.
It's
what
like,
the fuck?
Yes.
Like, come up with something better.
You know how many times I've said you're fat to myself? Like, you can't think of
I've
anything
already
else.
heard this.
So that I just don't care about, because what I'm here to do is to show up vulnerably so that others can feel safe to do the same.
Love that.
And that's been my social media journey, is going from like completely Facetuned, just as fake as can be, not showing an inch of like, our captions when we were in high school used to be like Sunday fun day.
Hashtag man crush Monday. Hashtag woman crush Wednesday. Hashtag throwback Thursday.
The hashtags. Hashtag TBT on Thursday, every Thursday.
Yeah.
But now it's a lot more about like, what can I share that's like on my heart that maybe could resonate with someone, whether it's posting my body or talking about, you know, self-love, any of that.
I love that it's been like a positive thing for you, because it's the internet is so scary. Well, just because like, you know, I mean, I talk about it so much and I'm sure it's annoying to hear, but I think like so many women can fall into this trap online where no matter what we say or do, because we're a woman, it's like met with, you know, anger from men. And I don't know why that is. I mean, besides just like the epidemic of really angry, lonely men in the world, you know, but I think in terms of like this topic of like body image, anti-diet, you know, healing, it's really so like relaxing and calming to stumble upon profiles like yours, because it's like, oh, this person is here to do something completely different than show off the Facetune Instagram posts or to, you know, post thirst traps. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, post your thirst trap. You know what I mean? But
100%. I'm all for that.
Yeah. It's like, it's just like a different energy that sometimes you kind of need when you're online. You know, sometimes you need like a break. Like when TikTok has those ads that's like, take a deep breath, you've been scrolling for a while. Like,
I get mad at that girl a lot. I'm like, stop it.
I know, I'm like, but I'm like, there's so many cats. Right, yeah. You're like, you don't know what I'm scrolling past. What if I'm scrolling for meditation techniques? You don't fucking know.
Right. They do know, though. That's the thing.
They do
TikTok
know.
knows everything.
Yeah, they do know. I want to answer this, or I want to ask you this question. Like, has being online or your experience online at all shaped your body image of yourself?
Seeing and witnessing online has, and like being in the space definitely has, but I think I've just been faced with it. When you're on social media and you're posting for the world, like you're faced with your kind of deepest shit. Yeah. Like whether you think you're good and secure with yourself or not, you're gonna get online and be like, well, I'm not as secure as that fucking bitch because look at her and like the way she's showing up. And I mean fucking bitch in a loving way.
Yeah, bitch is a term of endearment. Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's bound to happen if you're choosing to be online. You're exposing yourself to the world and to your own like deepest, darkest feelings about yourself and who you are. And then when people like reverberate that back to you, you're like, well, fuck, I already knew that. Like the guy saying you're fat, it's like, I already knew that. Thank you. But
do you block those people? What do you do?
It just didn't happen. It was like really when I was kind of starting coaching and like really posting my body and like really talking about my body and my experience with my body. My page is for the girls. Like I think I'm probably 75% women, if not more. And that it's a safe space for me, honestly.
Right, so it doesn't happen a lot?
No, it doesn't.
Great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I feel lucky because I think if I were faced with what you experience, I don't know if I'd be as like, oh yeah, it's like really lovely. And
well, it's funny because like sitting here now, I'm recording a podcast. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. 10 minutes before you got here, I was like venting to Nick about like, I'm so fucking sick of this shit. Like when is the tide gonna turn? I literally use that phrase because I posted a very vulnerable for me post where I posted like my body because it's body acceptance week and posted some graphics that were provided by Nita.
I love those pictures.
And thank you. And like I posted it because I personally am still in that place where I'm working on liking my body or being neutral or whatever. I'm not like looking for attention, but a lot of men think that I am looking for attention, and I made sure to not like I have cleavage in my sports bra, I can't help it, and I cropped it out. Like I made it as like not ugly, but I made it as like anti-male as possible.
Like, what are you gonna say about this?
Yeah, like I tried really hard to make the photos look as real as possible and not like any way interpreted as sexual, and yet there were the comment sections, even an hour after posting on Facebook, I had to disable the comments because so many men were saying this, stop spreading this BS. You're hot. You're asking for attention. Why do you want validation? You're so obsessed with your body. And there's no recognition of them. Like they go so far past the point, they can't even see it. Yeah. And it's frustrating because I don't want to have that experience anymore, but I know that I have to just keep fighting it, knowing that it will reach the people it needs to eventually. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, that was, I've been going through that this morning, so that's exciting. Yeah. Really
I have a question for you on that, and then we can move on. Yeah. But is that ever been your thoughts in your own head about yourself? Like what those men are about saying to you? Like does that ever cross your mind as true?
Sometimes, yeah. I think when I was earlier in my stand-up career, I absolutely was seeking validation because I wanted to know that people online thought I was funny. And unfortunately,
thought you were funny. Nothing else though.
Right. Like I didn't care if people thought I was like attractive because I was already going through so much of my own shit that I was like, well, stand-up comedians don't have to be attractive. In fact, normally they're not attractive. That's kind of the whole gag. But I was just like posting for a long time being a comedian, hoping that like people were going to be like, this is funny, this is great. And then as I grew and as I now have entered a space of like advocacy, I'm posting because I hope that there's a young woman or person out there who looks at my feed and is like, oh, what I'm going through is like, okay. And there are resources and there is help and I'm not alone. And every once in a while I get a message from a person that's like, hey, like this is super random, but I showed your post to my daughter and I was able to open up a conversation with her.
Morgan, that's so cool.
And to me, that's like, it's worth it. You know what I mean? So I was like, that's all I care about. I'll block 30 men a day if it means that one of them reaches out to me and says that they were able to start a conversation.
That right there is why we do what we do, right? Like why we're putting ourselves out there. Yeah. Is to have those conversations. Absolutely. And someone reach out and be like, hey, when people from high school reach out to me and say like, hey, I really love what you're doing, or people that I was like friends with at one time in Boulder, it's really validating, not only because they're from Boulder, like the place that like started all this fuck shit for me, but because they're acknowledging like, you know, I see you. I see what you're doing. I see like the light that you have, and like I'm happy you're sharing it. Most of the
time, they are also either struggling or have struggled.
Yes.
And so they're like, "Hey, girl,
saying, thank you."
One and the same. Yeah. Every single woman that has reached out to me that we grew up with was like, "Yeah, I also dealt with this," and I'm like,
"What the fuck?"
You know what I? Yeah.
And when we're growing up, we're all acting like it's normal and pretending, you know. No one gets us. No one understands us. We feel so like alone and isolated. Just ghost posting on
Tumblr about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ghost posting and like, what is it called when you like are talking about someone but
subtweeting?
You're not? Yes, that was me a lot.
Yes. Oh, bring back subtweeting. People still do it. But Twitter is disgusting.
I haven't had Twitter in years.
Same.
Can't do it.
Before we sign off today, I have an affirmation board that I have everyone sign and put an affirmation on. I'd love to have you add to the collection. And it doesn't have to be an affirmation about like your body or body image. It can literally be anything you want.
Okay.
And so you can choose a pen and sign it and kind of let me know like what your affirmation is, what you think is like, I don't know, fun for you to say.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you have a lot of really good ones. I feel like you of all people would have a lot of good ones.
Well, spoiler alert, I did already write one on here.
She did.
But I'm going to write another one.
Yeah, write another one on top of it. What was the first one? What was the first one you wrote?
The first one is, hey, baby, want it and then let yourself have it.
Ooh, I like that. Want it and then let yourself have it.
But here we have...
another one.
Your body is a Wonderland.
Okay.
And that's by none other than the man himself, John Mayer, and then also me.
I love that. It's a quote within a quote. Your body is a wonderland.
Yeah, so your body is a wonderland, and that can mean anything you want it to mean. I feel like as women, we're told that our body is a vessel for birth and life creation, and while it is, it's so much fucking more than that. Your body is whatever you want it to be, whatever you need to use it for, and just remember that it is the thing that's like carrying you through this life. So love it with all your heart.
Hell yeah, I love that.
Thank
Maddie,
you, John.
where can everyone find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Mindful Maddie Jane. Madi is how I spell my name. Don't get that wrong.
Because she's different.
Because I'm different. Fuck you.
I like it. Is it short for Madison?
Yeah.
Oh,
Madison.
okay. That makes sense. Okay.
But that's it. That's everywhere. Don't find me on TikTok, please. Just don't. Okay. That's
and
all.
If you live in Colorado, Maddie does workshops in Fort Collins and some other places sometimes.
Yes.
Cool. Fort Collins.
Down for anywhere.
That's the place. Foco.
If you want to host a vision board workshop or friendship bracelet workshop and you would like me to be there, let me know. I have all the materials.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to, give us a 5-star review. Check out Maddie. She's genuinely like such a wonderful human being. And tune in next week because Maddie and I are going to be talking about Weight Watchers. And remember, your body is a wonderland. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to My Body, My Jokes. Please be advised that the information provided in this podcast is for general discussion purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always, always, always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare professional with any concerns you might have regarding the topics discussed in today's episode. Also, if you or someone you know is struggling with an eating disorder, please call the National Eating Disorders Association helpline at 1-800-931-2237. Bye.